The mid-afternoon sun blazed down on the neighborhoods of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I found myself captivated by my smartphone screen. His name was Blake, a classic American charm emblazoned in a profile picture where his blue eyes popped against a backdrop of sandy blonde hair. Those eyes, a transparent mirror to the soul, or so I thought, had me intrigued. We had matched on Heart Match, a trendy dating app that had taken the singles scene by storm. "I'm an open book," his bio read. "Turn the pages if you dare." The thrill of meeting someone new, coupled with the rush of stepping out of my comfort zone, was something akin to the time I took up skydiving. But this was different. This was a whole other dimension of vulnerability. A game of Russian roulette with my emotions, my safety, my sanity. Little did I know the latter was in grave danger. Should have listened to my mama. We'd been chatting for a couple of weeks. Small talk led to deep conversations. And before I knew it, Blake had become a part of my routine. A cup of coffee in the morning, a call before sleep, and endless text bubbles in between. A month in, our digital rendezvous seemed to escalate. Texts turned into calls and calls into video chats. Blake was turning out to be everything he claimed and more. An art curator with a penchant for Beethoven and an unnerving love for Edgar Allan Poe. How was I to resist such a potent cocktail of intellect and charm? One Tuesday evening, as I returned from work, a bouquet of red roses sat on my doorstep. Attached was a note from Blake. "Can't wait to meet you in person," it read. It warmed my heart, yet sent chills down my spine. How did he know where I lived? Brushing my concerns aside, I attributed it to some white lie in the name of romance. Maybe I'd mentioned it during our late-night chats, I convinced myself. It was the first drop in an ocean of red flags, signs that I'd chosen to ignore, dismissing them as paranoia. After all, Blake was just a good guy who'd been caught up in the whirlwind of romance, right? Things started to take a strange turn one evening as I was preparing for bed. My phone pinged with a notification from Blake. "You look beautiful in that silk nightgown," the text read. I froze, my heart pounding against my ribcage like a jackhammer. I was indeed wearing a silk nightgown, but how could he possibly know? I was home alone with every window locked and the curtains drawn. Fear gnawed at me, my mind racing with horrific possibilities. My stomach churned, not with butterflies of infatuation, but with the bats of dread. I confronted Blake, who claimed it was a wild guess, brushing it off with an LOL. But my intuition screamed otherwise. Soon, I started noticing a man in a black hoodie during my morning jogs. At first, I thought it was a coincidence until I spotted him outside my workplace and near my favorite coffee shop. The same icy blue eyes occasionally peered from beneath the hood. They were Blake's eyes. The feeling of being watched, once a figment of my imagination, had taken a horrifyingly real form. My heart match had become my heart's bane. The Romeo from the dating app was nowhere to be found. In his place was a fiend, a stalker. The walls of my life began closing in, each moment suffused with paranoia and fear. I alerted the police, but Blake had disappeared from the app as swiftly as he'd entered my life. In the following weeks, I moved apartments, switched jobs, and even adopted a Doberman for protection. Though I heard nothing more from Blake, his specter haunted my every waking moment. My digital Romeo had turned into a digital phantom, but his love letters were a series of frights that had robbed me of my peace. Life began returning to normalcy until one stormy evening, a familiar ping jolted me. A message from an unknown number. "Did you miss me?" My heart dropped. It was Blake. I could recognize that tone anywhere. Fear slithered up my spine, its venomous fangs sinking into my courage. I was back in his dreadful grip, once more a prey in his sick game of cat and mouse. How had he found me again? What did he want? The unanswered questions twirled in my mind like a haunting waltz, each step echoing with a chilling dread. I was ensnared in a web woven with terror and uncertainty. As I stared at the text, my trembling hands barely able to hold the phone, I realized the nightmare was far from over. He was back. As my heart pounded in my chest, I realized one thing with horrifying clarity. This was more than a mere stalker story. It was a lesson, a horrifying testament to our digital age's dark underbelly. For in this realm, not every heart match was destined for romance. Some were destined for a dance with the devil himself, the dance I had unknowingly signed up for.